Hello! And today I'm starting a new series on my channel where at the end of every month I discuss all the books that I have finished reading during that month. I managed to start 9 books in January and I finished 6 of them. I will be talking about book tropes, plot, why I didn't like the book or why I liked the book, and why I didn't finish a book and will I finish the book in the future, all in this video. Before I begin, there are noises happening. I live near a road that people are always driving on. It's raining, and so you will hear those noises, probably. Also, if I start slouching, it's very painful for me to sit upright the whole time, so if I start slouching, that's why. Before I begin, I do want to say that I matched my makeup to my headband, and I'm wearing this headband because I don't have a crown and everyone on Book Talk has a crown, and I wanted to kind of have one for my videos, so I'm wearing this one until I get an actual crown. Do you want to give like a brief rating scale for my books on what I rate books? I give books 5 stars based on if I really enjoy the book and I want to read it again immediately, I want to buy the second one immediately, or I do buy the second one immediately because I loved it so much. That's usually what I leave for like number 5 top tier books. Book 4, rating number 4, there's just 1 or 2 things that I would complain about the book, but overall I enjoyed it and I would read the second one and I would read the book again. I'm just not jumping to do it. 3 is like average. I enjoyed the book, but I'm not jumping to read the second one, and I'm not reading the it again anytime soon and things like that. I don't really give books 2 or 1 stars. Books that I get 2 or 1 stars are books I didn't finish, and that's because the book didn't interest me or something happened in the book that I can't continue reading this book. Those will give 1 or 2 stars for those, but most of the time I do give books 3 or more. If I finish the book, it's getting at least 3 stars, and if I don't finish the book, the most I can get is 2 stars. So our first book is The Playboy Prince by Lili Valente. It is arranged marriage, fake marriage, royalty, romance. Eldest princess is engaged to the eldest prince of another family. Her name is Elizabeth and she is disabled. Her love story is in the second one, those who are curious. They both don't want to get married. His plan is to make her hate him and ultimately call off the wedding, and Elizabeth's plan is to have her identical twin sister swap places with her and ultimately fall in love with the prince. Her name is Sabrina, and Andrew have a lot of common interests, and Elizabeth thought they would be a better suited match than her and him. They both are suspicious of the other of lying and not being true. He is suspicious because he knows Elizabeth because they used to talk on the phone all the time, and she had a stutter and she was very quiet, reserved, and shy, and Sabrina is none of those things. She's a lot more active and has more interest in nature and things like that, which is common, which is what Andrew also has interest in. And she knows that he is trying to call off the wedding by doing dangerous stunts like jumping out of a helicopter and eating repulsively and other things to call off the wedding, even though she would not call off the wedding, and that's his ultimate goal. I enjoyed the book. I really like reading royalty ones because reading about princesses is really cool, even though they're not at all accurate to what real stories are. It's a nice escapism, like imagining being a princess. I didn't really have too many complaints with this book. I think I gave it a 3 or 4 stars. So next book. Our next book is Sweet Distraction by Lainey Davis. Grumpy Sunshine, Boss Employee, and Pregnancy. I'm saying pregnancy now, just so that everyone who doesn't want to read pregnancy romance just knows there is pregnancy trope in it. Tim runs a law firm and hires Alice, fresh out of culinary school, to be the chef because his grandmother suggested that he hire a chef because he wasn't eating well or eating enough because he's always busy. They have an interest in each other, but they decide not to pursue it because it is an awkward situation where they work together and he is her boss, so they try not to, but eventually they slowly start engaging in romantic courtship or whatever. He is very on guard and very in control, because he had to be, when his mother died, he had to step up and take care of his siblings because his father didn't. So he has always had to be always on top of things, and when he's with her, he kind of can chill out and not be so up on things and can just mellow out. But once he finds out she's pregnant, he kind of reverts back into his old ways because he feels his need to be up. And even though he fell in love with her because he didn't have to do those things, he kind of felt obligated to do that because of his previous trauma. I enjoyed this book. I'm pretty sure I gave it 3 stars. Because while I didn't have any real complaints on the book, I'm not jumping to read. I think there's more of them. Yeah, there's more in the series, and I'm not jumping to read the next books in the series. It was just a cute read. Not all books have to be, I need to read the second one, I need to read the third one. Some of them are just fun reads for the moment, and this one was one of those. I don't mind reading pregnancy tropes. I read 2 in the month of January, so that wasn't the calling off point. It's just that I'm not jumping to read it again, and it was a cute read, but yep, that's about it. Book 3 is Only the Beginning by Laramie Briscoe. The cover is different. They did change the cover, so it looks more like this now, but for some reason it didn't switch over in the actual book. So we have our country singer princess. Her stage name is Harmony and her real name is Hannah. And we have our heavy metal band lead singer. His stage name is Reaper and his birth name is Garrett. They said opposites attract. Rockstar romance. So they meet at an award show, and then I think they go to an after party, not together, but they meet at the after party, and they kind of start talking, and they leave at the same time, and they're photographed together, and people want to know if they'll start dating. They weren't at the time, but they were interested in each other. What I liked about this book is that they went to go see each other, even before they started dating. They would visit each other whenever they were, because they're both on tour, they would visit each other whenever they were nearby and just hang out. His band did a secret pop-up concert because they have so many fans and only so many tickets people can buy. Did a surprise concert, which I do occasionally. and she sung at that concert, and everybody was like very interested and wanted to know if they were dating. They weren't dating at that time, but they dated the next time she showed up at his concerts. And by the end of the book, because he's very nervous to sing at her concerts because he didn't want it to ruin his rep or whatever, but at the end he does end up singing at her concert, which was really nice. This book got 3 stars because I did not like the ex. So her ex comes back and starts putting doubt into her relationship with Reaper, and she doesn't tell him immediately that he's trying to come back, and that starts causing problems for them, even though everything was going so well. And that really just kind of like irks me, that the ex just like comes back and tries to ruin their relationship, because their relationship where they are distant from each other, they can't see each other as often as they would like, is already hard enough, and then the ex comes back and tries to ruin things because he wants to get back with her, and that really upset me, and I wasn't here for that. So that's why I took off points. So our next book is Blood of Zeus by Meredith and Angel Payne. It is forbidden romance, Greek mythology, professor-student. And yeah, she is a demon, he is the son of Zeus, and she cannot date anyone because she has to marry a demon, and so she's supposed to remain pure until then. He has to be really gentle with people because he is a giant and has a lot of strength within him, and when he was 8 years old, he unfortunately injured his best friend, and his best friend is now in a wheelchair. So he has to be super careful, and he's very vigilant and making sure that he's very careful around others so he doesn't injure them or hurt them. So she decides to take his course in her senior year because his course was dealing with Dante, and I have never read the book Dante, but I'm guessing it has to do with the underworld, and she has interest in it because she's a demon and wanting to learn more about it. They have interest in each other. He has an interest in her because of her story, because her family is very famous, and not because she is famous, but because she's not like what she's portrayed in the media, and wants to get to know her on that level. And she's very interested in him because she feels as though he is similar to her and as not quite human, but doesn't know what he is. She is less caring about him being a professor than he is about her being a student. She just has to be more careful because of what she has to end up doing when she finishes graduating, which is be married off to another demon. Eventually, they do end up getting caught, which they usually do in forbidden romances, and she quits school so that he doesn't get in trouble with the dean and getting fired, and ultimately meets the guy she's supposed to marry and decides she doesn't want that for herself and ruins herself, and then has to be protected, and Zeus shows up. That basically gives you a brief summary of what happens. It does have the spoiler that Zeus does show up, but he is the son of Zeus, and it is Greek mythology, so the gods have to eventually come in. I liked it. I spent a good chunk of time many years ago just reading forbidden romances. I just find it interesting. People say you can't be together. It's kind of like wanting to read Romeo and Juliet without reading Romeo and Juliet for me. And I liked it. I gave it I did dock it down points because even though she's a demon and he is a son of a god, You don't really get too much of that in the story until the end. Like it's briefly mentioned in the beginning, it's sprinkled in, and then it's really focused more on the end of the book. And I just kind of wished it was more throughout the book, or we got to see her powers more, and we don't really see that. And I don't even remember what her powers were. That was just my complaint on it. Hopefully in books 2 and so forth, they do go more into her powers and his powers. And yeah. So book 5 is The Unexpected Card by E.H. Lyon. Boss employee, forbidden romance, surprise baby, brother's best friend, enemies to lovers. It hits all the boxes. Josh and Layla don't like each other. They argue every time they're together. They have to go on this business trip to woo a client in New Orleans, and they end up spending a fair bit of time in New Orleans, and which is unexpected for them. So they end up working through their tension that they have. The best way I can say that. They work through their tension, and they eventually end up wooing the client, and they go get a tarot reading, and the tarot cards say that they seem like a good couple, they're gonna expecting a surprise, and just little things talking about how they're gonna end up together. And they're both very skeptical of it, even though she really wanted to get the reading and find just for fun because of the whole experience of being in New Orleans. And they woo the client, and they come back, and she ends up coming home with a souvenir being the baby. He takes it pretty well. He takes it pretty well. They go to doctor visits together, to go to little programs for new parents together, and they really start bonding. The brother does find out, and usually when the brother finds out, it's pretty violent. This was not the case. It did have a little bit of a disagreement, but they eventually got together. The reason why I gave this book probably 3 stars is the way, again, it gets close to the end where I start having my problems. I think he tells her that he loves her, and she kind of freaks out and runs away, says she needs some time, and then says, I understand, like, she has never been unloved before, and she is going through hormonal changes because she's pregnant, but the way it kind of was like abrupt, and the way it was written, I think really upset me, that she just kind of took off and didn't say, hey, I'm a little overwhelmed right now because I've never been in love, and I'll get back to you. She just kind of like freaks out and then just runs away, and that was just a little annoying, and so I took points off of that. But they eventually, get it together, and they end up together. That just took points off for me. I didn't like the whole running away abruptly, because like he's wondering like, what did I do wrong? I know she's going through these hormonal changes, but I don't know what I did. And she's just talking about how she loves him, and she's crying about that. I understand the crying because of the hormones and stuff, but the way it was just written was kind of weird for me. I'm slouching, my back hurts, I'm sorry. But the next book is The Vampire Prince by Juliette and Banks. This is book 2. I didn't read book 1, but they're not, book 1 is just about the older brother, and book 2 is about the younger brother. So this one is Fated Mates and Vampire Romance. I love vampire romances. So I was very excited to read this one, and I read it in a day and a half. So I was very excited to read this book. So the Vampire King from book 1 becomes ill, and they have to leave their home of Maine to come to LA to try to get treatment for him, because it's very unusual for vampires to get sick and die from an unusual cause. And at this clinic, they meet what's her name? Oh, Willow. I'm pretty sure it's Willow. They meet Willow, and they kind of have this instant spark because they're fated to be together. Words are hard. I'm sorry. They're fated to be together. So she doesn't understand it because she is a human, and I don't know how people, vampires in this world, figure out that they are fated mates. I think it was like, he mentioned like his eyes changing colors, or I don't know, just a different thing to them. But he had an interest to her immediately, and they kind of hit it off. And when the king decides that he doesn't want to forgo treatment anymore, he kind of, I would say freak out to me, and said, I have to spend as much time with her as possible before I have to go, which to me seems like a clue that, hey, that she's not like other girls. She's your fated mate. But that's just me, and he just took a bit more time to figure that out. So they agree to spend that week together and grow and bond, and then eventually he figures out that she is his mate and decides to tell her that he is a vampire. The reason why I took points off of this book is because immediately they had just told each other that they loved each other, and he tells her that he's a vampire, and it instantly shifted from, oh my god, I love you, to, oh my god, I need to leave I want to move to Hawaii, because they're in LA, and forget all my memories I've ever had with you. Very instant. And I was like, A, you're fated mates. I don't think that's how it works. B, I thought you loved him. I'm confused. And C, and she asks, like, are you gonna kill me? And things. They always ask that once they find out that their partner isn't human. And that just annoys me, because it's like, because even they say it in the book, if I were going to, I would have done it by now. They always say a version of that. And as a person who's read a lot of vampire books, I would like to think that I would not immediately jump to, I need to flee the country. If someone were to say, hey, I'm a vampire, I like to think that, and I have to remember that not everyone read a bunch of vampire romances like I have, and so it's normal for them to be a little freaked out. But the way it happened was so extreme to me that I was just annoyed, and I took off points, and I gave it 3 stars, even though I was very much in the book up until that point. I liked the plot and everything like that. I just didn't like when it got to the part where she's freaking out and thinking, I'm gonna lose all my memories I've ever had with this person and move to Hawaii and be done with it. Even though afterwards it was explained that you will never love anyone ever again. You will always have this hole in your chest, and you won't know why that is. She was pretty still in that terrified state, and wasn't thinking, you know what, I am going to miss this person once I'm gone and stuff. She was so terrified that he was a vampire, even though he didn't do anything to give her reason to be scared. He did take her memories away when one of the places they went to was robbed, but it wasn't because she got injured or anything. It was just because if she wasn't his mate, she didn't need to know vampires existed, and like that, and also because she would be terrified because of that as well. But it wasn't like a malicious intent of taking her memories away. And so he never gave her a real reason to be scared of him and then just like the immediately finding out he was a vampire, instant terrified, and I didn't like that. It was like, I didn't understand why it went so drastic. So that's why I took off points for that book. But I did enjoy reading it up until that point. I didn't finish reading the book, which is why I didn't give it less than 3 stars. I'm going to talk about the books that I did not finish reading in the month of January. So the first book is Rapture and Ruin by Julia Sykes. This is a mafia romance, and the reason why I didn't finish reading this book is because at the time I was not in the mood to read a mafia, and I had other interests that I would rather do than read a mafia book at the time. I do like reading mafia books. This one I just it was moving too slow and wasn't catching my attention enough, and other things were. So I just put this on pause until I feel the need to read it. The next book is Bewitched in Blood by Jen Kitemi. I'm sorry if I butchered their name. Again, this one moved, even though it moved not necessarily slow, it took me a while, a few days to get to the point that I was, which is not very far into the book, and I had other interests that kind of became more like, I'd rather do this than read this book. And that to me is my sign that I need to pick a new book. Because if it's taking me 3 or 4 days to get to 20% of the book, I'm not very interested in this book and I should read a different book. So I stopped reading this book and read the vampire book, which kind of, I read it in a day and a half, which is how I knew it was just a reading slump and not me just having other interests instead. The next book I only stopped reading because I was reading it during my snowstorm when I didn't have power on. So I read this on my phone because it had more of a charge than my tablet did. But this is In Too Deep by Izzy Williams. I didn't finish this book because it's on my phone and I don't do too much reading on my phone anymore. So it's one of those books, but when I'm out and about, I still have a book that I can pick up and read. So this one wasn't so much, interest wasn't there because it just was there. It's just, I was using it as so I don't have to kill the battery on my tablet. I can switch off and read on my phone and read a different book. So that's why I didn't finish that book. But I did enjoy reading it and I'm about halfway through. So yeah. So that is all the books that I read in the month of January. I hope to do a lot more book themed videos in the future. Since I do a lot of books on my tablet, it won't be doing like book hauls. I could show you the ones that I found on Kindle. If you're interested, I tend to do that after I finish reading a book or get close enough to finishing a book so I have a book already lined up. Even though I have thousands of books that I could read, I still go looking for more because why not? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give this video a thumbs up if you would like, subscribe if you want to, and until next time, drink some water, eat a snack, play with a fidget toy, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!